women disappeared, and the world turned into a much quieter place. And all men became lonely because of the loss of women. For the first time in history, the stronger gender actually wanted to listen to the gentler one while they were speaking. Now, I want to ask you a question related to this. If you didn't know, on average, women speak around 20,000 words per day. And what about men? How many words do you think men use daily? 1, 2,000, 2, 15,000, or 3, 7,000? You have 5 seconds to answer this question. The countdown starts now. If you chose number 3, that is the correct answer. Let's get back to the video. So, women vanished. And what would happen if at some point a woman suddenly appeared again? What would her life on Earth look like? Let's find out.
They told you the story. We tell you the truth. Welcome to Factslicks.
The year is 2086. A virus that attacked only the female body made women disappear a year earlier. Everything looked like the script of the worst movie you could imagine. Women were dying all over the planet, which caused enormous accidents, massive chain reactions, airplane crashes, and piles of dead bodies in the streets. The number of suicides grew sharply. The sudden loss of wives, mothers, and sisters, for reasons still unknown, pushed many men to end their own lives. During this period, companies that produced women's and children's products slowly started collapsing. Some of them, in order to survive, invested huge amounts of money a year later and began competing over who would create a more advanced and higher quality female robot that could replace real women. But even with robots existing, men were not satisfied. They felt lonely because there was no one to take care of them during the night, no one to push them to the far edge of the bed, no one to say, "I'm hungry," as soon as they open their eyes. No one to wake up next to them with messy hair. No one to be irritated once a month. No one to tell them they were fine, when in reality, they weren't. Unfortunately, they were forced to continue their lives without the fairer sex. That is why governments of different countries started investing heavily in science, hoping that experts would design an artificial womb through which a girl could be born, one who might save the world from the extinction of humankind. This project was carried out in secrecy, and scientists were just one step away from success. But before they could achieve what they had imagined, they first had to stop whatever killed all the women on the planet, so their project could come into the world and survive. After 5 months, they discovered the cause of the women's deaths. And 2 years later, a girl named Eve was successfully born through an artificial womb. Years passed, and the whole world still wasn't informed that there was hope for salvation. But after Eve's 18th birthday, scientists decided it was finally time for the world to know about her. All eyes were fixed on the screens that day. Every newspaper wrote about it, and she appeared, the symbol of humanity's salvation. Her role on Earth was clear from the very beginning. And right after her public appearance, the scientists' plan was put into motion. Years after her innocent first appearance, dozens of girls were born through artificial wombs. When they grew up, they would all have the same task as Eve. Their lives varied, from high-paying jobs in the West to being bought, sold, and used as slaves. But in the end, all of them would probably receive the best care, proper nutrition, and top-notch gynecological treatment to make sure everything was in order. If you think this way of life was torture for them, they didn't see it that way. They were taught their entire lives that restoring humanity was their duty. As for how life would change, it's very likely that once men got over the shock of losing their mothers, wives, sisters, cousins, aunts, grandmothers, and daughters, they would soon find something else to argue about. Countries would start blaming one another, and wars would erupt again. But the girls would not be allowed to fight because they had a far more important mission. Men would protect them, making sure every girl was kept in a safe place so that men who had lost their minds could not harm them. And in the end, as the years slowly passed by, everything gradually began to return to normal.